I think we're live. Ready? Oh, good evening, good morning, everybody. This is already the third stream. Just a just a quick thing about what happened last week. Because on Saturday somebody asked me, "Where are you going to watch the finals of the Euro Cup?" But the thing is, I don't really watch football, so I was not aware of the fact that the finals was last week Sunday, and then I realized that most likely a lot of people will be watching finals or maybe something connected. So that's why I thought it's better to postpone until today. So let's see. So welcome, Andres, welcome, Jace. So today I will also already share part of my screen, so you can already see what I'm planning today. Today I wanted to introduce you guys into the world of the modes. Maybe some people that will be watching today already know quite a lot about modes, so maybe it's just fun for them to watch, or maybe even give some suggestions if they like. And also, I just wanted to ask you guys if, in the meantime, anything happens with the audio, if something is not audible or not loud enough or anything, please do let me know. Last stream, some people were very helpful when some things did not get through right. So let me know when the audio does not come through. Well, thank you very much, Jace. I enjoy doing them, and I enjoy the questions also that I get because they're interesting and always unexpected. So what I wanted to try, or what I wanted to start off with, I'm going to grab my cheat sheet. You will not see it on the screen, but I wrote a little bit of a text that I stay organized. But for me, the world of the modes started when my guitar teacher explained them to me, and they really caught my attention. But also, it was very confusing for me in the beginning. So, what are the modes? What can they do? So that's what I'm going to try to make clear to you guys. I just want to head over to my next point. So the thing is, you can approach the modes in different ways, actually in many ways. And two very popular ones is that the modes are actually just the same scale or part of the same scale, but it's just a different flavor. Or in the point of view that I actually prefer is I like to approach them as being really like a separate skill, like a separate identity. And I'll show you what I mean by that later. So I definitely prefer this approach. And when I'm writing songs, or when I'm writing a solo or a melody, I really try to stay in the same mode, and I really try to find what sounds are unique to that mode, and really try to get that special those special colors going, because that's what you're looking for, because that's why you choose to write in it. So the first thing, of course, that we cannot ignore when explaining how to make a certain mode, or when talking about mode, is, of course, where do they come from and how can you create them? Just I try to keep my eyes on the chat every now and then if new people arrive or ask any questions or introduce themselves. So the thing is, I made a handy cheat sheet before for one of my earlier episodes. And the thing is, unfortunately, at least that's how I see it, unfortunately, everything starts with the major scale. Because if you know the major scale, then you can derive all of the other modes from just that one scale. And that's a little bit of a that's the first approach, and that's the one that I don't prefer. There's another approach, and I'll tell you that later. But first of all, if we have, for example, we have the major scale, which is all the white keys on the piano. Then we have here the notes. So we have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, back to the octave. So this is our major scale. And if you want to create, for example, the Dorian scale, what we do is we just use the notes from the same scale, but instead of starting on the C, we start on the D instead. So here you can see how that relates, because I lined them up so you can really see how they relate to the major scale. So here you see we have the Dorian scale, which goes from D to D. And so once you know what notes are in each of these modes, for example, in the Phrygian mode, I'm just going to scroll down. Phrygian mode is, again, it's all the notes from the C major scale, but the Phrygian mode we play, which is the third mode, we play the notes from E to E. So exactly the same scale as the C major scale, but our focus point is different. So, for example, in the Phrygian mode, E is our root note. And if anything is unclear, please do interrupt me or ask a question in the meantime. If you have any question about how to make them or what you find interesting about them, please do let me know. So and here, see, so if I just zoom out, so then you can see how it relates. So you see, this is like a whole cascade, like a whole staircase. If we switch down, and all of these notes are the same from the C major scale, but we just start and end on a different note. So here we have the Mixolydian scale. That's the fifth mode. Then the sixth mode is the natural minor scale or Aeolian mode. And then number 7 is the Locrian. And so the thing is, why are they so? So the approach that I prefer, actually, probably a lot of people who study music, even if you're beginning with music theory, you learn the major scale and you learn the natural minor scale. Or at least that's from my experience, that most students, that they know the major scale and the natural minor scale. So what my approach is, what I prefer, is that when I look at the modes, I know, for example, that the major scale is, of course, well, that's the major scale, so that's a major mode. And that's because we have a major third. So if we go from C to E, that's a third tone, we have 2 whole steps. You see that here also in my, how I have written it. The W stands for whole steps, and the H for half steps. So if I move down, I can see that the Dorian mode, for example, we have 1.5 steps until F. So that's a minor mode. But if I move down 1 more step to the Phrygian mode, I have, again, so here I have a half step, and again I have a whole step. So that means that Phrygian is also a minor mode. So I just continue my way down all the way. If I look at Lydian, I have 2 whole steps. So that means that we're dealing with a major mode. When I look at Mixolydian, I see the same. I have here, until the third note, I have 2 whole steps. Again, that is a major mode. And if I go to our natural minor scale, or the Aeolian mode as it's called, you can see that I have a whole step and a half step. So that is, again, a minor mode. So what I did before is let me turn back 1 second. So the thing is, what I now know is that I have, if you count it with me, we have 3 modes that are major, that have a major third in them. And we have 3 modes that have a minor third in them. So that's a Dorian, Phrygian, and the Aeolian, which is natural minor scale. And we have 1 diminished. That's the Locrian. That's a bit of an oddball, and that's a difficult one to compose in. So I would definitely leave that mode for, you know, when you really want to experiment and when you're really advanced. At the beginning, I would just ignore that one as if it's not there. But what I always do when I started playing guitar solos, for example, and when I wanted to explore certain modes, what I did was I approached everything from the same point of view. Like, okay, am I dealing with major mode or am I dealing with a minor orient? And so, if, for example, if I look at the minor scale, I know that I have a major second, it's from A to B. I know that I have a minor third, that's the C. I know that I have a perfect fourth, perfect fifth. Then I have a minor sixth. And then I have a minor seven, and I'm back to the octave. So I know, that blueprint it has been imprinted in my. So that's just something you need to remember, like you remember your chords, for example. Remember how to play them. Certain things about music theory, you also just need to learn them. You need to memorize them, and they'll become second nature. You will not think about them. So what I like to do, for example, if I want to, let's say, I want to write in the Dorian mode. So I know that's a minor oriented mode. So then I want to know, how is the Dorian mode any different than the minor scale? So, and I made a small chart here. This is actually from my first video, which is, let me search here. So I hope this chart is a bit clear. It's doesn't look that great. I might need to renew it at some point. But what I made here was a chart where you could see, for example, where all the major modes differ from our major scale and where all the minor modes differ from our natural minor mode. So what I wanted to show you is, how does the Dorian scale differ from the Aeolian, or our natural minor scale? And I have made it here like this. So here you see we have a whole step. Okay, check. That's the same as the Aeolian. We have 1.5 steps here. Yeah, so that's our minor third. Perfect fourth, still the same. Perfect fifth, still the same. And here we have what makes the difference. Here we have 4.5 steps, which is a major sixth. And here we have four steps, which is a minor sixth. And for the rest, you see everything is the same. So actually, the only difference between a natural minor scale and the Dorian mode is only the raised sixth scale degree. So it's actually only half a step. So that's for me, when I found that out, I found that out by myself by just noodling around on the guitar. And as soon as I found out, like, oh, but actually, Dorian scale, only difference between the Dorian scale, let's say D Dorian or D minor, is the fact that I raised the sixth scale degree. So, for example, D minor, let me go back to my my other view here. Here we have, let me write it down for you even here on the in the sheet music. Show you. So let me just quickly make a D minor scale. Come on. And there we go. D, A, B flat. And then we have. So this is our D minor scale. Let me delete that note for you. Need it? And I'll write it above. This is our D minor scale. And if I write here now a D Dorian scale, we have D, E, F, G, A, D natural, C. So you see, this is our D Dorian. So you see, as I just explained, the only difference is the fact that we have here a minor sixth in the D minor scale, and here we have a major sixth in the D Dorian. So let's take it to a different mode. Again, let's stay with a minor mode because I think that's easy since we just had that example of minor mode. Now let me take, I need to zoom in again. So now I want to know what is the difference actually between the natural minor scale and between the Phrygian scale. So again, here you just have to look at the red square here, and you see the difference is actually the Phrygian scale starts with half a step, while the natural minor scale starts with a whole step. So that would, let me just stay in our example of, and the rest was the same. So let me stay in the example here of D minor. Let's make this now into a D Phrygian scale. Because we have all the notes here already, it's easier to just stay here. Phrygian. And I'm going to make a D Phrygian scale. But, so what we need to do is we need to lower our second scale degree, because that was actually the only thing that made it different from all the others. So I just do that by adding a flat, and here we go. So, and let me just, if things are clear, let me know also, because then I'll continue with the next step. Otherwise, I wanted to just give one more example with a major oriented mode. So you guys understand, then I'll skip it. Otherwise, I'll just complete the explanation. So now for the major oriented modes, I am going to relate everything to my Ionian scale, or our major scale. As you can see here, so here we have no exceptions, because this is our Ionian or major scale. Just like we had with the minor scale, here are no exceptions. Now I want to go towards, let's say, Mixolydian, because I know that that was also a major oriented mode. And we see everything is the same. You know, we have a major second, major third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth. And then we have a major sixth. But here comes the difference. Here's the difference. The difference is that we have a minor 7. So if I would translate that to the notes, to show you again, let me quickly make this into a D major scale. There we go. There we go. And now I want to make this into, I said Mixolydian, right? Yeah. So I'm going to turn this into Mixolydian. Sometimes I forget how to write these names. There we go. And the only thing that was different was that we have a minor 7. And so you see again, there's only one note difference between our D major scale and our D Mixolydian scale. So I hope it's starting to become a bit clear that actually these modes are not that difficult to understand in how they are structured, because they are so closely related to the major scales, minor scales. Just one quick example to round it off is, let's go to the Lydian scale, or the Lydian mode. So the Lydian mode, we again, of course, we have a perfect a major third, but we immediately see here that on the 4th scale degree we have something different. And on the 4th scale degree, the difference is that we have an augmented 4th. So that's a raised 4th scale degree compared to our major scale, where we have a perfect 4th. So if I jump back to my example where I turned it into a different scale, now I'm going to turn this one into D Lydian. Lydian. So what I need to do is, of course, I said that I need to have a raised 4th scale degree. So that's the only thing that I'm going to do, is I'm going to raise the 4th scale degree. And again, as you can see, when you make a one-on-one comparison, you only see that there's one note difference. So a great tip is when you are, I don't know how many guitar players we have now watching here, or any other instrumentalist, but just stick to guitar, because that's what I used when playing solos and stuff like that. But for example, when the tonic chord was played and I wanted to give it like, let's say, a Phrygian feel, I would just play the minor pentatonic scale, but I would add the lower 2nd scale degree. For the rest, everything would stay the same. Or for example, if I had a major chord that we were playing on top, let's say we were holding a major chord the whole time, and I wanted to just, give it a little bit a different flavor than just the major scale. So what I would do then is, sometimes I would just, let's say if I wanted to play Lydian, I would just play the major scale, all the correct notes, sometimes I would slip in that raised fourth scale degree, just to give it that Lydian flavor on the tonic chord, and without like going into Lydian chord progressions or whatnot. So I just did it with the melody. So I hope that's a bit clear. If there are some more questions about that or some more uncertainties, then of course you should let me know. Otherwise, I want to go towards the harmony part of the modes, because of course maybe you have seen some of my my videos before about the modes. Actually, I think Thursday, a couple of days ago, I dropped a video about the Dorian mode. But the same as with what you do when you want to create the harmony of a certain mode or of a certain scale, what you do is you build triads on top of each scale degree. So, for example, if I go back to my overview here I have just the scales. These are just the notes. But if you want to know what the harmony is, what kind of chords you have in a certain mode, what kind of chords you can play, then what you need to do is you need to make a triad so you need to make chords on each of these scale degrees. So they're going to be major or minor chords, or also there will be one diminished chord in all of them always. But you just make triads like you know how to make triads. You skip one note, then add. Let me go here to show you because I already made them. And I'll zoom in a bit so we don't have. Let me just take out the inspector view. There we go. Let me zoom in a bit so you can see. So this is probably what most of you are already familiar with what kind of chords you have in the when your key is C major. These are the chords that you can play: C, D, E, C, D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor, diminished. I think probably everybody is more or less familiar with that. You want to play a 1, 4, 5 progression, which is one of the most known progressions. Then you just play the C, fourth scale degree is F, G, go back to the C. So I think everybody is familiar with that. But now the thing is with modes is what I prefer to do when I compose a song using a certain mode. Sometimes I just choose like, okay, this song is going to be in the Dorian mode, and then that's it. So the thing is, if I know how to make the Dorian scale, I also know how to find out what chords I can play, right? I just make a triad on each of the scale degrees. And if I do that in, let's say, the D Dorian mode, let me zoom in a little bit further so we don't see the other that much. There, here we go. So if I do that in the Dorian mode, then I see these are my chords. And the thing is, now D minor is now my tonic chord. So that's going to be my home base. That's going to be the chord where I always end up going back to. So, whatever progression you play, however long your chord progression is going to be, you always come back to D minor because you want to accentuate that as being your home base. And the next thing is what you want to do is remember that we have one note that is unique to the mode. And in this case, in D Dorian, the note on the 6th scale degree is the most important to that mode, because that's the raised 6th scale degree. And that's what sets it apart from the D minor mode. So what we need to do in our case, let me just count the scale degrees: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So the thing is, I know that B, this note here, that B is my raised 6th scale degree. So that one is, I want to have that one prominent in my chord progression. Of course, apart from your tonic chord, which is D minor. So but I can see that this is a diminished chord, so that might be tricky to play that one. But let's find out if we have this B, this raised 6th scale degree, in any of the other chords. So if I just scan here, just look at, because maybe not everybody knows how to read notes, but just scan here what notes are on this line. Here we have nothing. here we have, okay, on the G, yes, it's part of the chord. So, and now we go further to the left, we can see that the E also is part. On the E minor, we also have that B. So then if I look at that, so then I need to accentuate. So I want to stay in the Dorian mode. I want to keep that Dorian flavor. Then you want to, of course, your tonic chord, which is the D minor. Then we have, look at the next, let's say, competitor. That is, or a candidate, that's the E minor. Because the E minor has that raised 6th scale degree in it. Which is a very important note. So, okay, our E minor is the second chord that we can play. And our G major, which is the major 4th, our G major is also a candidate. And if you're feeling adventurous, so to speak, you can also play the diminished chord, but that might be tricky every now and then. So, but in general, if I, for example, grab the, maybe later, I wanted to grab the guitar, but maybe I'll do that later. I just want to show you how different now things are. Because before, if I go back to our C major, our 1-4-5 progression was C, F, G. But now that we are in the Dorian mode, and you know, it's the beautiful thing is you use the same notes from the same C major scale, but you know, your starting and ending point is different. And now if I look at what the 1-4-5 progression would be, we have D, we have G, and we have A minor. So D minor, G, A minor. So that's a completely different chord progression, right? And that makes it so beautiful. But what you want to do, of course, you want to try and make chord progressions that use that unique note as much as possible. So, for example, a great chord progression would be one that I also talked about in the video about the Dorian mode, is, for example, a chord progression that goes only from the D minor, so our tonic, and then goes to the G major, which is the 4th scale degree. Let me, because we already have that here, let me do it like this. I think that's clearer, right? There we go. One, just quickly, so you can, it's easier to tag along. And by the way, if they're capitals, if they're written in capitals, these Roman numerals, if they're big, that means that they're a major chord. If they're small, that means they're a minor chord. And here we go. So we have a minor chord on the 5th scale degree, and we have a diminished chord on the 6th scale degree, and you write that with an O, just. And then here we have, here. Okay. So what I wanted to say is one of the most famous chord progressions in D Dorian. For example, you know, Pink Floyd has played Great Gig in the Sky, I think. That whole song is just D minor, just on the 1, and then it goes to the G major, and that's the 4. So the whole song is only that 1, 4, 1, 4. But it is. It has that unique flavor because in our natural minor scale, we would have a minor chord on the 4th scale degree. So that's the difference. Let me just quickly play that. I hope that you will hear it on your side. I hope it will go through the hear it on your. So let's see. Our chord progression was D minor. And now, so this is G major, D minor. So this is our Dorian feel. Now I'm going to switch to a G minor. So now I'm going to play as if it was minor scale. So I'm going to play D minor, and this chord, instead of being major, is going to be minor. One more time. So you see, that's the difference. One more time, the Dorian. See, it's a lot brighter. Minor again. So you see, can you hear the difference? I really that G major that really sounds so radiant compared to the G minor if it would be in say it in D minor. So that's why writing in a certain mode is very can yield very good results because you focus on chords that you would otherwise maybe not come up with. You know, maybe you would not by yourself play a D minor as your tonic and then a G major as your fourth chord on a fourth scale degree. And that becomes even more apparent when you go to a chord progression, let's say to Phrygian, which is, they always say that it sounds a bit more exotic because of the half step here. I would play the Phrygian scale on the guitar. Let me just grab a guitar pick also. Let's see, we have E Phrygian. We have so this, if you would play it in chords, it would be this. So we have here as our tonic chord, we have E minor, and as our second chord, we have F major. That would sound like this. So you hear? So if I would play like this. So you hear how that half step really creates some interest. So for example, so if you would start writing in the Phrygian mode, that's something what you want to exploit, because this half step, as you might remember from my earlier explanation, that half step is what makes Phrygian special, because for the rest it is same as in steps, not in chords. It is the same. So you want to focus, when you're playing in E Phrygian, you want to focus on chords that have, of course, the E minor is very important, because that's your home base, your tonic chord. But now you want to also find out which chords have this F in it, because that's our lowered second scale degree, which makes it unique Phrygian. So we see here, of course, in the F major we have it. And I'm going to scan. I need to go up here. We also have an F for the people who don't read notes that well. Here we also have an F, and I'm going to zoom in, and we have OK. Our B diminished has an F in it, but also our D minor has an F. So what a legitimate Phrygian chord progression could be is when you just switch from the E minor on the first scale degree, and then you go one whole step down to the D minor. So you just go, let me grab the guitar again. Then it's easier for me to actually play it to you also. I hope that the guitar is coming through, okay? And what I want to play is E minor and then D minor. So that would be a legitimate Phrygian chord progression. But what you want to do is you want to keep your focus on the E. E needs to be the most important chord. So how you could do this is, for example, you would have a 4-bar chord progression. You play 3 bars or 2.5 bars here, 1.5 bars or 1 bar, you E minor. So for example, let's go for 3 bars E minor and 1 bar. So you see, by playing the E minor longer, you automatically make the E minor more important. It makes a bigger proportion of chord progression. So that's about playing in the Phrygian mode. You can of course explore more, but I think that's already, a big step ahead. So the thing is, I want to repeat how I always approach creating a certain mode and writing in certain mode. First of all, creating a certain mode, I keep in mind um, what kind of gender we're dealing with. With what? So, are we dealing with a minor-oriented mode or a major-oriented mode? And the thing is, I just remembered, like like you needed to remember geography in elementary school. I just remembered that for Phrygian, what makes Phrygian unique is the lowered second scale degree. For the rest, it's completely the same as our natural minor scale. And the same as what I did is like, okay, I know that Lydian is a major oriented mode, but the only thing that makes it different is the raised fourth scale degree, augmented fourth. And one more example, I know that the Lydian, the Mixolydian mode is also a major oriented mode, and the only thing that makes it different from the normal major scale is that we have a minor second, minor seventh instead of a major seventh. And that's what that's how I remember it. And as I said before, I very often I choose to write in a certain mode and keep it for the whole song, or for example, only for an entire chorus or an entire verse. I say like, okay, my whole song is going to, one of my songs from Facing Mountains, for example, is in the verse, it's played in Dorian. But when I go to the chorus, it's played in the natural minor. So, you create some variation, you create some different colors, but that means that your whole verse is in the Dorian mode. You use all the chords from the Dorian mode, and then at some point, instead of playing D Dorian in the chorus, I'm playing D minor. So, of course, also some of the chords will change then. But that creates some interest. And I think I always am a bit quick with stopping the information flow, but the thing is, I think here is a good point to put a pin on it, so to speak, because otherwise I'm going to go into even further further territories in modes, because you can make it as complicated as you want. I think I want to keep that for another live stream. So what I wanted to ask is from some of the people now watching, if there are any questions either about modes or either about any techniques that they're trying to learn, like a problem with soloing, you have a problem with writing chord progressions, maybe you have a general music question, maybe you want to share something. So I would say now is the time. Because let me just quickly check my notes, because otherwise I think for today we already have all the information that I wanted to say. Because there are so many more approaches to writing in modes. So that's why I want to first stay an entire song in a certain mode. And then in jazz there are multiple approaches also. You can dive even further in modes, but I think that's a bit too advanced. I just see some new people joining also. So if you have any questions, drop them now, because otherwise the live stream might end sooner. Because also I found that some of the previous live streams were a bit too long. I think so. I think they were an hour long. So I think that's a bit of an overkill. Let me just in the meantime grab my own sheet, see if I missed anything. So I just wanted to mention that this where is it? Here it is. That this overview is on the this on my membership page or whatever. It's not Patreon, but it's the same as Patreon. In any case, what I just did with this scheme was I just made a quick overview of how you can see the modes, how they relate to each other, or how they actually relate to the C major scale. Because always it sounds a bit abstract to me when they're saying like, especially in the beginning, like, oh, Phrygian is just it's just the major scale, but then you start on the third. That sounds so abstract for me. While, as I said before, I really prefer to see every mode as their own identity and their own colors and their own I don't like to approach them as being like, oh, this is just the fourth step of the like Lydian. No, this is just on the fourth step of the C major scale. Find that you really um, find that you really take the unique character out of the modes by doing. So I would advise also to try and see it that way, as I just said, like see it as a separate identity for new creations, and definitely they will. I guarantee you, if you decide on one day, I want to start writing in the Lydian mode, which is absolutely a beautiful mode. The first video that I made on the modes about Lydian chord progressions. It's absolutely a great mode to write in. Gives very beautiful results. I think a lot of songwriters in the past, also like Fleetwood Mac and stuff like this, they definitely have used the Lydian mode a lot. So I guarantee you that if you decide to write in a mode other than the Ionian or the Aeolian, which are the major and the minor scales, you decide to write a song in that, I guarantee you that you'll have great results, or at least you'll have results that you don't not anticipate getting. One thing that I noticed that I missed is I did talk about harmony when playing in modes, but I did not really talk about melodies. And I think I'll stay in this overview. I'll just zoom in a little bit. And so let me again stay with the Dorian mode. So just focus on this one here. And when you're playing melodies in a certain mode, so again, if again you approach it as like your whole song is going to be in the Dorian mode. So it's not just temporarily on one chord that you switch to the Dorian mode, but your whole song is going to be in the Dorian mode. So what you want to do, same approach as with the chords, you want to accentuate, of course, the D in this case, which is your root note, your tonic. But now what you want to do is you want to accentuate, of course, again, the note that's unique to D Dorian, which is the B, which is the raised 6th scale degree. And so you want to play around this note a bit together with the D. But of course, you should remember that that Dorian is a minor oriented mode. So you do want to slip in that minor third every now and then. So for example, I as now on the guitar, I thought I could make a good example, but so you keep in mind that you want to focus on these notes, the minor third, because that also gives it like the gender of the scale, so to speak. It's either major or minor. Tonic, because you want to really emphasize that D is your home base, your point of return and your point of departure. And of course, this note here, the raised 6th scale, the B. And I guarantee you, if you also use this in your solos, or if you're a singer and you want to write a vocal line, it's very interesting. It will give great results. If you listen to some very old music, Hildegard von Bingen, for example, you'll find that they also used the Dorian mode even then already. I'm not sure from what century that. I think it's from the year 1100. So they already used the Dorian mode then, like they were called church mode before. And they use it with no accompaniment, so with no chords in the background or whatever, So they're just singing, So one guy was holding the D as its pedal tone, so that D was sounding throughout, and then the other one was improvising on top. And then it was just sometimes they would just go up the scale like this: D, E, F, G, A, B, and then go down again. And by doing that, you already accentuate the mode. That's just a great tip for you to remember. If you have a piano at home, just keep on playing your root note, D, 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 and then you improvise with the Dorian scale on top of that, and see what kind of colors you're going to get, and then try to do it differently. Again, you play the D, 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 and you are then you're going to play the D minor scale. So you're going to play here a B flat, the minor 6, and then you can really play them against each other. Like you can really hear the differences. And you can do it even in the same in the same progression or in the same melodic line. I don't know if I can do it here on the piano. Maybe I'll save that for for next time. There will definitely be another video on modes because there's so much to talk about, and I think also it would be okay. Yeah, I will be with that question in a second. Thanks for asking. So I would say yeah. So I will definitely do another live stream about modes, and then probably with some chord progression examples, maybe the ones from my earlier videos already, or also maybe some melodies that I've written and how they compare between each other. So I think that if you guys would like that, then let me know. I think that would be something interesting. Okay, about chromatic mediant. It's something I've talked about in one of the first live streams as well. It's a very popular topic. But let me answer that. Let me try to answer that in not too much time, because it's also a topic where you can really spend a lot of time on. And in the meantime, I also need to just quick water. Okay. So for this example, for the chromatic mediant, I'm just going to use 2 chords. It's going to look like this. I'm going to place here, and just let me know if there are any things that you do or do not understand. So in this case, my chord progression is going to be a 2 chord progression. So it's going to repeat. And I'm going to write I'm going to write a C, D, E, G, and my next chord will be the A minor. Go. A, C, E. Let me write it above also so you can see. There we go. And A minor. So now everything what we see here is part of the scale, right? Because in C major, this all is in C major. In C major, we have no sharps or flats. So this is, and the connection between these chords is a third the distance, because from C to A is a minor third. So chords that are a third apart, either major third or a minor third, they have a mediant relationship called. And a mediant relationship, and in this case, it's diatonic because I'm not using any sharps or flats. We're staying in the key. We're not doing anything strange. So everything sounds good. But now I want to, now I'm going to change it. Now I'm going to make this A minor, I'm going to turn it into a chromatic mediant. And what I'm going to do, and there are multiple chromatic mediants, but I just want to show you the easiest one. So now you think, okay, but you did the same thing, but no, not. Now, let me write the chord name. Now we have an A major. So again, the chord distance between, between the root notes, between the C and the A, is still a minor third, but instead of it being diatonic, we have a C sharp in this A chord, while here above we had an A minor. And that's actually the only thing that you do with when it comes to chromatic mediants. So what you do with a chromatic mediant is chords that are normally a third apart, either up or down, doesn't matter major third, minor third, but as long as it stays within the key, when you're not using any extra flats or sharps than that there are normally in the key. So I just forgot my sentence. I just lost track. So if you're not adding any sharps or flats, it is it's called diatonic. They are diatonic mediant related. So in our case, now I changed this into a C sharp. So just adjusting one note, making this chord from an A minor into an A major, we already have a chromatic mediant relationship between these chords. Let me add some. Let's see if I can. If I have a score here. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to look up one of my previous examples. I don't know if you're still watching, but if yes, say yes, and I'll continue with the answer. Let me just quickly open my examples for chromatic mediant. Still have it here or hard drive. So, but, oh yeah, wait. I gave this example also last time when it was question. 1 second. I have an example. Where do we have it here? Yeah, here we go. This was in my video about the Phrygian mode. And I'm going to also search the audio. And you just need to let me know it's coming through. Examples in this. Sorry, I did not check if the audio is coming. Where I want to play you an example. Okay, you're not hearing it. Okay. Just 1 second, I'll fix that in a jiffy. Now it should be fixed. Let's see. Sorry, I'm having some technical difficulty. I'll just explain to you the score, because here I use a chromatic mediant also. So here I was explaining a progression in E Phrygian, but that's just on the side. But what I'm doing here is I'm using a chromatic mediant relationship, and here we have E minor, and just for your information, E Phrygian has no flats or sharps in it normally, so everything is just white key. So if we have here the chord progression, we have E minor, C, A minor, E minor. So everything is diatonic, nothing goes outside of the key. You can also see it here, there are no sharps or flats. But now what I'm doing here at the end, I'm changing this A, which used to be an A minor. I'm changing this this A minor into an A major. So I'll play the example and I'll follow along with my mouse where we are, and then keep your ears open to the difference. You know how radiant this A major sounds. And of course, I can understand that you might have the question like, okay, but why is this a chromatic mediant? Well, because between A and C is a minor third distance, so they have a mediant relationship. And here we have, again, from C to A minor, it's a mediant relationship, it's minor third. But here we're diatonic, not changing anything, and here we are adding a chromatic mediant. So let me play it to you from the beginning. So you see, when we're on that A major chord, it definitely creates some brightness. It opens it up. And the great thing about chromatic mediants is that you can just, use them only once in your composition. Or you can make an entire chord progression out of them. But the great thing is that you can use them as something that you pop in once in a while. Just because you can, just because you like it. So definitely experiment with those because it's very powerful. And as you can see also, it has influence on your melody as well when you use a chromatic mediant. Because your melody changes also because, if I would still play a C natural, which is part of the A minor chord, it would not blend because the C natural in an A major, you'd have the C natural fighting against the C sharp. That's a half step distance that's going to sound very dissonant, which probably is not something you're going for unless you're into more experimental music, which is absolutely fine. But I hope I answered your question about chromatic mediants. If so, either let me know or otherwise, if there are no other questions for today, because I wanted to keep it shorter today, but again, we're almost an hour in. The thing is, once I start explaining, I lose the track of time, and then you become enthusiastic and questions come in. You're most welcome. I'm happy that you guys joined, and I just need to see when the next live stream will be because the vacation season is starting, and I might not be able to do next because I do every 2 weeks, and I might not be able to do that. Maybe I'll be able to do one next week, but I'm not 100% sure. But I will let you guys know. And on the other side, if you have any suggestions for, I can take away also. So if you have any suggestions for any topics for live stream that you want to, that things that you don't understand or things that you're trying to dig into, let me know. Maybe I can make a class out of it, or maybe even a video on learning music skills. And of course, I post always in the community page on the Learning Music Skills YouTube channel. So if there are any questions, that you have in the meantime, be sure to write them down there already, so you don't forget and I don't forget, and then we can talk about it next time. There are some songs that you find interesting that I might have a listen to before the live stream and whatnot. All great stuff, good suggestions, great music, everything is welcome. How to write good melodies over chord progression. Yeah, I think that's a very good topic. Definitely. So that one is already going into the suggestion box. Let me actually down now. Nice suggestion. And it is actually that's actually easier than you think. We'll get to that. It's more difficult to write a good melody without a chord progression. So when you need to write a melody that just stands by itself, that is incredibly difficult. So that's also something that I'm planning a video on, but I still have some difficulties creating something that actually that you'll be able to hold on to, because writing melodies is really something that's very abstract, and that's why there are so many books about how to write harmony, how to write chords, about certain rhythms and everything, because that's just it's easy to explain, it's easy to follow, like a major chord is this is the key, etc. But when it comes to writing melodies, there are just also certain abstract things that that are just very difficult to grasp when you want to explain them, and also when you want to write them. So when I know more about that, or at least when I know more how to explain it in a very good and useful manner, that's also coming your way. In any case, I think we almost on an hour, just a couple of seconds short. I think that's a very good place to stop. I really enjoyed it today. There were some nice questions. There was nice interaction. I loved the topic, and the modes will definitely be another topic once again. So far, and if you have any other suggestions about how the live streams can improve, of course, be sure to let me know as well. And as I always end the videos, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And for now, see you next time.